You needed to apologize. You would have heard it in a voice note on WhatsApp.
In fact, a mixtape. You don't send voice notes. You send mixtape.
You- That was foul. That was foul, okay? My mom passed away from lupus and she was sick all my life. My life, ever since she has passed, has been, spreading her words. Her memory is not gonna die as long as I'm alive. Call her now. You want me to call her?
Cola, cola, cola,
Please give
cola,
me. Please.
cola, cola.
Yeah.
The angels bow down at the thought of you. The darkness gives way to the light for you. The price that you pay gives us life brand new. Hosanna forever, we worship you. Hosanna forever, we worship you.
Okay, so today I'm joined by a good friend of mine. Her name is Rebo. Backstory: Rebo and I met through social media. Honestly, the first friendship that has formed for me in that way and that has progressed in such a genuine, such an authentic way. And maybe, Rebo, let me throw it to you. How did you and I meet?
So I was on Essay Expert, right? I was doing
Yeah.
it, and then I was answering some questions, especially about coming to the US. A lot of people were like engaging with me and everything like that. And then I think my last goodbye on Expert, I said something that stuck with you, right? And then the next day, because I got a couple of like followers that from that live, so I had accepted all the followers. And then the next day, I'm like going through my feed, and then I see this like, because I love motivational speaking. Like in the morning, if I'm gonna be on social media, it's gonna have to have like something profound has to be happening. And I see this young man on there, and he's talking, and I'm like, and then I was listening and I'm like, is he talking about me? Right? And then I was like, what? And then I posted it and all my friends are like, what? I know, that thing that you're doing. And I'm like, oh, look at that. Something I said stuck with somebody because I was on the other side talking to myself. Right? I felt like I was talking to myself. So it was like when stuck with somebody, I'm like, oh, and there's something that happened to be from my mother that I love so dearly, which was the most touching thing ever because my life, ever since she has passed, has been, spreading her words, spreading who she is, like celebrating her every single day. And I do that a lot. Like I don't her memory is not gonna die as long as I'm alive. Right. And I'm passing it on to my little one. And she's like the most amazing human being you'll ever come across, especially in these times that we live in. It's rare for you to find a human like her. And I feel like she left too early. I know why she had to leave, but she left too early. And I feel like I'm going to just like spread her around as much as possible. And when you quoted her words, I'm like, you know what? It went to the Xhosa world. Let's go. Maybe next time it's somewhere else. And you happen to be in China. I'm like, it's even in China. What she said is in China. I was very like I was touched. I really was. I remember I cried that day. And I was going to work, but thanks a lot for making me cry before I go to work. So that's how we met.
Quick one for our friends who are watching this episode wondering what is it that Rebo's mom said that stood out for me. Would you mind maybe summarizing that story? And I would tell the story, but I mean you're here and I feel like you obviously would tell it so much better than I ever could.
Um so there was a lot of trials and tribulations in her life. My mom passed away from lupus and she was sick all my life, right? So, but she was the most positive person and she was the most giving person and the most welcoming person. And I never used to understand it, to tell the truth, because if I'm in so much pain all the time, why would I? Like, nobody, when she passed away, nobody even knew my mom was sick. Like, a lot of people, like, it was like a shock my mom passed away because no matter how much pain she was always happy. When somebody came in, she would put a smile on her face and she would smile and she would engage. And when the person leaves, she would, we in the house knew she was sick, never understood it. And when things happened, like when hardships came, she never gave up. So I had come to the United States and I had moved to New Jersey, had a bad experience, had a hit and run. My boss was mean, and I was like, I'm coming back home. Like, I have a good home. It's like I didn't leave South Africa because of poverty. I left because I wanted to explore the world, right? So it's not like I didn't have anything back home. It's not like I didn't have an education. It's not like I couldn't start my life in South Africa. So I was like, Mama, no, I'm coming back. I cannot. Like when I said I saw Satan, that man was like legit Satan, right? And I was getting depressed and I was like, I'm coming home after 3 months. And my mom said,
Sorry, wait. Sorry to interject, friend. So when you say that, friend, are you referring to your boss or
the
just
boss,
like, okay, okay, cool, cool.
my experience here, when I say I saw Satan, like he was the meanest human being I've ever come across. Mind you, I come from a family with laughter, bubbles, and everything. The only downside of my childhood was my mom being sick. Besides that, everything was just like, as my friends would call it, rose-colored glasses, right? And this was the first person that I had encountered that was genuinely evil, I feel, right? And I couldn't take it. And I was like, I'm not. My mom said, you went to the United States for an education. You wanted to go get something, right? And you're not coming back until you get it. Don't let anybody take you away from your dream just because they're being mean. And I'm like, I'm like, I was in a car accident, this. And she said to me, in the midst of a storm, there's always calmness. Find the calm in that midst of the storm. And when I did that and I started praying, I found the calmness and I relocated and I've been here for 10 years. I traveled, I went. There are trials and tribulations, and no matter what happens in my life, in the midst of a storm, I'll always go back to my calm place and I'll see things like falling apart around me, but I will center myself and I'm like, the storm is going to end, right? It's gonna blow me to it. Like whenever there's a storm, it's gonna blow you somewhere. But if you are in the center of it, as it's blowing you, just stay calm. Like my mom said, just stay calm, let it pass, and when it passes, you'll be in a different place. You'll look different. You'll be different. And that's what I've been taking all my life. So if it wasn't for her, I'd be in South Africa right now, which is not a bad thing, but I wouldn't have my daughter. There's so many things I wouldn't have if I came back home. So yeah.
Hmm. So our audience is just gonna have to forgive me. I feel like this is gonna be a very selfish sort of episode because it's about me. It's genuinely about me because it's my first time connecting with you in this way through a video chat. We've sort of texted back and forth, and it's been an amazing connection. But to get to know you in this way is, it's a first for me, so I'm enjoying this. They're gonna have to forgive me. I'm gonna ask questions that are very selfish in nature. So here's the question that pops into mind for me. So your mom tells you this. It sounds very good in theory,
Yeah.
but what was your center? How did you clearly found your center because you made it through the storm.
Mhm.
It's been 10 years into the US. What was your center?
So I'm ZCC, right? Hymns, God, Jesus, my spirituality. So this is who I am. I always describe myself as I'm more spiritual than I am religious, right? So my religious side of me would be I am ZCC, right? But I'm spiritual in the sense of I am African spiritual. So I believe in ancestors. I believe in communicating with them. They are my connection to God, right? And that was my calmness where nobody else can go, right? Nobody else can go into that world with me. And that's where I found my calmness. That's where prayer came in, meditation came in. As hard as it is, like I know it sounds so like, you might be, on internet, they say you must meditate. It actually does work, right? Meditation is personal to everyone, right? So when I was in that situation, I couldn't think straight. So when I'm in a conflict with somebody, I'm always on an attack mode. If somebody's attacking me, the first instinct I have is attack back. Like my defense is, I will attack you. I'll attack you until one of us is tired, right? And it wasn't working for me because I remember when I was talking to HR, they kept on saying, "Oh, you guys have the same personality. That's why you guys are class." Right? So they're talking like saying that oh, don't mind him, he's strong-headed like you, like they're trying to put it on me as well. And I'm like, it's because I'm also attacking as well. As he's saying something, I'm attacking back. And when my mom said find my calmness, I stepped back, I prayed, and I asked, God, like, do I want to be here? Is this where you want me to be? And if this is where you want me to do, what is my next step? Because I can't live this life. One thing I'm not going to do is suffer for success if there are other options, right? So when I did that, I got my answer where it said, you're already in the United States, you already have your visa, you don't have to be in New Jersey. You don't have to work for that person, right? You don't have to work under that person. You don't have to be at that school. You can still, because you're still legal in this country, you can still legally move around, right? And that's what I did. I relocated and I went to the DNV. So currently I'm in Washington, D.C. I went down to D.C. And when I got there, that is when I realized I didn't have to fight to be in this country. And my life has been great ever since. So my calmness would be prayer. It would be in touch with my ancestors, in touch with back home. And my mom was my safe place. Because no matter what, because when I called my dad is like, come back. I did not raise you for people to abuse you. You have a home, you have a bedroom here, you have food. My dad was adamant. I did not chase you out of the house. So you're going to let somebody else bully you. Come back home. My dad was ready to book a flight for me back home. My mom went, mm-mm. It was supposed to be the other way around. Like in normal, people would think, oh, it's the other way around. The dad is the one that's going to be saying, keep on going. The mom is going to say, I want my baby here. My mom said, no. My dad's like, you're my only daughter. My mom said, no, you went there for a reason. If you see that reason does not exist anymore, then come back home. But if you still want that reason, find a way to get that reason. So, yeah, my storm took me all the way to DC. I wonder where the now. You know,
Probably in hell.
I thought Lupus like I was like, he came to visit to chase me back to Africa. Yeah, that's where my center is. My culture, my background. I'm mixed. That's another thing. I'm half Tsonga, half Tswana, right? So even culturally, there was always a conflict within me, right? Because what Tsongas do and what Tswanas do are totally different things when it comes to tradition. So I had to always be conscious on which side of the family I was at, and that made me realize that there are also similarities as well within that, and I went with the similarities instead of the opposites, the conflicts, right? So I went with that, and that's where I find my peace, and that's where I find my quietness.
Hmm. Uh, we live in an and world, right? So I think a lot of people struggle to reconcile both culture and religion sort of being embraced
Mhm.
simultaneously. People always say, you're either traditional or you're spiritual. You're either an academic or sports or an athlete. How do you sort of like reconcile the two harmoniously, which you seem to do?
Everything in my world is an and. I'm this and. I'm never this or. I'm never an or. Right? So, like for example, I tell people when I'm here, they were like, "So, what are you?" I'm not Tswana, I'm not Tsonga, I'm Tswanga. I made up my own word, right? I celebrate both my parents because I come from both of them. Yes, I have my father's last name, right? Traditionally, yes, if you want to say I'm Tswana because my father is Tswana, you may say it. It does not offend me, but you can also say I'm Tsonga, right? But at the same time, so coming from that kind of family and having my parents not, oh, actually my father not overpower my mother's culture was what made me know that there's two worlds, right? I live within those two worlds because my dad celebrated my mom. My dad dated my mom because my mom was Tsonga. He did not want to date any Tswana. He'll tell you, I like, he doesn't have an ex-girlfriend that's Tswana. Doesn't, right? So for me, he had made me comfortable with saying, I am proud to be Tsonga. When my mom was teaching me Tsonga, when I can dance Tsonga, I can dance Tswana, I was raised in both worlds within one household. And then when it came to my religion as well, I go to ZCC. So if anybody knows what ZCC is, it is a Christian church, but it also incorporates cultural beliefs as well, right? We do have those gatherings where they say your ancestors, we do have those.
Mhm.
We do also read the Bible, so they have incorporated African traditions within our church, not to lose ourselves as Christians. And because of that, like, the understanding is Christianity comes from Africa. It was taken by the colonizers and it was colonized, right? And it was whitewashed so much that it made African traditions seem demonic, right? But if you really do read the Bible, there's sacrifices in the Bible, sacrifices to God in the Bible, but it's demonic when it's done in a cultural way. Do you understand what I mean? So if you understand the Bible and read it to understand it, and another thing, because my dad is also a pastor, he always told me, use the Bible as a guide and not the word of God. The word of God comes from God. The Bible has been rewritten so many times. That's why there's so many versions of it, because so many people interpret it in different ways. That's why within Christianity, there's different denominations. Within Christianity themselves, they don't teach the Bible the same way, right? And Methodists and Catholic do not teach the Bible the same way. They don't have the same, but they're all Christian because they understand and interpret the Bible within the way they want to interpret it. And it's not wrong. The Bible is a guide, right? But is it God's words to the T? Not precise. Otherwise, it wouldn't have so many versions of it, right? The Quran, there's only one Quran. You don't hear the Quran having different versions. It stays the same way. The Bible itself, I think we're on like 200 and something version at this present moment, right? So if you're going to use that and say that you're going to use it against any culture, being an African culture or being a South American culture, how true is it that the word that you're reading is the be all and end all, right? If the Bible comes from Africa, why has it been whitewashed to the point where Jesus is blue eyes and blonde hair? Ooh, and light skinned. And I'm not saying anything about the Catholic churches and anything like that. That is their belief. I'm not taking away from their belief. But religion is an institution. And I'm going to bring it back to culture as well. Obsangoma is an institution. It is not a culture, right? As I say, I am a spiritual person, I'm a healer, I'm not a sangoma. It's an institution. I'm going to tell you why I'm saying institution. You go to Ubungoma to be taught Ubungoma. Just like at church, you're taught to be a Christian, right? Spirituality, if you're a spiritual person without the institutions themselves being Christian or Sangoma, if you're a spiritual person, right, you get your spirituality from being you, right? People have gifts. I have a gift, right? In Christianity, they call it prophecy. Obungoma, they call me Sangoma, right? When I go to Christianity, I get baptized. Obungoma, I go through Twasa, correct? So if I choose to carry my gift between me, my ancestors, and God, what is the difference? Obviously, I ended up in ZCC because of the church I grew up in, right? But as an adult, I choose to call myself a spiritual person rather than say I'm a religious person. because which religion do I pick over? If I pick Obos, like, I'm glad I'm ZCC, I really am, because they do incorporate cultural things. But if I was a Methodist, I would shun Obungoma completely, or shun Sangomas, or any traditional anything, right? Or if I was a Jehovah's Witness, right, I would shun anything that's African, right? And I choose not to shun either Christianity or Obongoma. And I choose to be in the middle of it. Because my relationship with God is a relationship with God. At the end of the day, it's not the priests, it's not the, what do you call it, or the in Sangoma, in Gobe, not the priest, but Ngobela's journey my, with God and my ancestors. And another thing people don't understand when people talk about ancestors, you guys, in Christianity or in the white culture, it's called guardian angels. Guardian angels, ancestors, same thing. All the time when somebody passed away, like when my mom passed away, they said you gained an angel, right? And then when I say my strongest ancestor is my mom, no, it's not an ancestor. Mara, you said I gained an angel. Isn't an ancestor's job to connect you to wherever? Isn't an ancestor in the ancestral plane? You call it an ancestral plane, they call it heaven. It's one of the same thing, just different languages. We just choose to find a conflict within everything. And God is just saying one thing. And people need to understand, take our spirituality, or take your journey to God like going up a mountain. At the top of the mountain is God. There are different paths to go up the mountain. You don't have to take one path. That's why we have so much hatred within religion as well. The Muslims don't like the Jews, they don't like the Christians, they don't like yalla, just the aim is God at the end of the day. Which path you take, as long as it gets you to God, that's it. That's how I see people. I don't judge people according to their beliefs. If your belief is to God, yeah, I don't judge you if you believe in Satan and thing. I'm just not gonna mess with you, right? But if your path is to God or the higher power, I don't care who you call him. You call him Jah. I don't care. As long as it's him, we're going the same like not the same direction, but we're going to the same point at the end of the day. So who am I to tell you that you're doing it wrong?
I think two things stand out for me in what you've just said, Rebo. I think number one, and I've never heard anyone put it that way before, to say that Ubugoma is an institution. And I think there's just so much power and so much dignity in conceptualizing it in that way, to realize Nyani, it is an institution. An individual has to leave their comfort zone, their home, go for a period of time to be trained in Ubungoma, what it means to be Ubungoma, the ethics within the practice. And so I don't know, for me, that was just a light bulb moment to say, actually, it is an institution.
It is.
And I think,
About it. I'm sorry to interrupt. Think about it. Every
jump,
family
jump in.
of honoring their legacies or their lineage, right? So let's say in my family, it's a sheep. If I go to Bungoma, they say in order to talk to your ancestors, you must slaughter a goat. But in my family, it's a sheep, right? They're teaching me how to do it in that institution. Just like if you go to ZCC, they say this is how you pray. So let's say Kara di Kolomela, we a sheep, right? If I go to Ubungoma to talk to my ancestors, they're going to teach me a different way, right? Kara di Kolomela, they are bones and da 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 done this way. But when I go to Ubungoma, there's a certain way. That Ngobela is going to teach me in a certain way on how to do something. Just like they taught me in ZCC on how to pray, right? There are different ways to pray, okay? None of them are wrong. But within the institution I grew up with, I need to kneel down. I need to cover my shoulder. I need to cover my head. But I've seen people who are very religious women, right, who are very successful at everything, and they're wearing pants and their head is out, but they are praying. They are praying women. The way they taught me in my institution is not wrong, and the way they taught them in their institution is not wrong. It's just kiskolo on this is how we're going to teach you how to pray. We are not, they should not be saying our way is better. Okay, just like ubungoma, this is the way we are teaching you how to talk to ancestors. It may not necessarily be the same way that you guys do it in your household, in the family lineage that you come from. Do you understand? Because sometimes, like for example, me and at this present moment, I'm followed by two ancestors from my mom's side and my dad's side. Mind you, one speaks Tsonga, the other one speaks Tswana. One does things one way, the other one does things one way, right? In order for me to communicate, I can't just talk in one way and expect the other one to accept my offerings. If that one doesn't eat chicken, why am I offering a chicken to her? You know what I mean? So that's why I call it an institution. It's they're teaching you how to communicate, how to talk to your guardian angels, as we say it in English, how to talk to God, as we say it in English. Imudimu at the end of the day. Just because Kimita Mudimu does not mean that he's less than a God. Does that make sense? So that's why I believe it in the way I believe it, or I see it. And I feel like it's not even I believe it or I made that conclusion. I had so many talks with them and they broke it down because I was that child whose the father is a pastor. I'd read the story in the Bible, and then Noah took his family on the ark, and the animals were two by two, and then there was a big flood, and there was no longer people on earth. And then the next time, when everything was done, Noah's children went to marry in the next land. What land? If the whole world was washed away. I did that. I was on my dad's bed. I'm like, what land? Like, just tell me what land. If everybody was on that ark, why is he now marrying in the next land if everybody was on? So I've always questioned things, and I've always been that person, right? And being that person led me to saying, okay, there's nobody on this earth that can give me the answer. They're going to give me what they think is the right answer, or how they got to. And I'm not discrediting their answers at all, but it's time for me to find my own answers, because I felt like I was missing something when I was Christian, just Christian. I felt I was missing something. And then when I tried the journey of, okay, let me go my traditional ways, I felt like I was also missing something else. So I'm like, why do I have to choose between the two if both of them actually overlap each other? So yeah.
Interesting. I have never been to America, but I imagine it's a different culture. It's a different country. My question then becomes, how do you embrace your gift? So your gift is that of prophecy. How are you able to embrace your gift in an American context? Paint a picture for me of what that looks like.
The great thing about America is that America is just like South Africa. It's a pot filled with so many cultures, so many beliefs. So we don't even write people off because we have so many backgrounds, right? It's not like going to, let's say, I live in, let's say, you're in China, right?
I'm
Majority
in
of the
China.
majority of the people are Asian, right? They're raised Asian, right? And here, nobody's raised the same way. So yeah, some things I've seen, like the African countries here, and they do things, and I'm like, okay, you know. But I don't write them off. I don't go like, that's bogus, because even the Caribbeans, like, yeah, ne? If you think South Africa has bului, come to America, and America will tell you that Nigeria is nothing now, right? If you think Nigeria have voodoo, Uh, the Haitians and the other, yeah, no, no. They will tell you guys where you guys are. But nothing is written off where I am, right?
Hmm.
Me, so I'm not like the typical way my parking, my garments spiritual person. So because I say I still honor ZCC, right? I'm not the typical ZCC. I was never the typical ZCC when I was in South Africa. Let me just tell you the truth, right? They told me not to have dreadlocks. I've had dreadlocks since 2006, right? And my mom would stand up for me because they would be like, why does she have dreadlocks? You know, dreadlocks are not allowed. Dreadlocks are for sangoma, blah 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 blah. And my mom said, the rules of the church say she must have natural hair. What is more natural than dreadlocks? And they couldn't answer that. I'm like, he's like, if you guys have a problem, take us to the main office and give us the rule books where she is breaking the rules of the natural hair, right? Because one of our rules is to have natural hair. One of our rules is to shave the men to shave their beards, right? So that's one of the rules. So my mom stood up for me no matter what, and I had until 2020, I dreads all the way down to my back, like my backside, my rear end. I'm trying to use the right word.
I mean, I got you the first time when you said backside, but when you said rear end, it was just funny.
So you're looking at me and I'm like, okay, my backside. I'm like, he's thinking the back. No, the lower one.
The other bag.
Other. So, and I did that not because I was being rebellious, but because if you're gonna tell me something, you need to justify it. If you're gonna tell me that God says something, show me and tell me for real, God. Don't make up things about God, not my God. Don't make up things about my God and expect me to just follow it blindly. And I did that. And then I just ended up like just loving dreads. And then I came to the United States. And one day I was like, I'm going to have a new hairstyle. I'm going to cut them off. I took a scissor. I did this. Didn't I black out?
Oh, for real.
Woke up 30 minutes later on my bed with the scissor next to me. Right. And then I called back home and I'm like, and my mom is like, my child, you still have more to learn about yourself. She's like, that hair on your head is not by mistake. It's not by mistake. And that's when I was like, okay, fine, gay. I'm not going to do anything to my hair. And all of a sudden, I find myself with beads in my hair. Like I'd randomly just put beads and I wouldn't even remember when I put the beads in my hair. Just randomly put beads in my hair. And then because I'm also a creative, people took it as if I'm being a creative, right? But I couldn't understand why I was doing these things until I got onto my journey about 3 years ago when everything made sense. And as soon as everything made sense, the old hair started falling out. That's how I end up with short hair. My old locks started falling out, but somehow other locks were growing that I didn't put there. Mind you, I didn't go to a salon to get my dreadlocks done. How I got my dreadlocks was I was writing exams, right? And when I was writing exams, I didn't want to deal with my hair, so I twisted my hair. And I was writing exams. I finished my exams. After I finished my exam, I tried to unlock my hair, and it said no. It's either cut it off, and my hair was beautiful. Like I was like, ain't no way I'm gonna have short hair, right? Either cut it off or not, right? And I stuck with it and was like a look, a look, a look. At one point, I was like, and my mom stood up for me. I was like, my mom. And by the way, my mom hated dreadlocks. Before dreadlocks, my mom told me you should never ever get dreadlocks. I got dreadlocks by mistake, and my mom defended them. She defended. And then later on, when I started learning about my lineage, who I'm named after, what's going on in my life, and then that's when all the stories came out. And I remember telling my dad, I'm like, these are the things that you shouldn't have hidden from me, right? Because he started saying these. He's like, but I was raising you Christian, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm not just Christian. Do you understand? Found out that my grandfather, before he became, I think, a pastor, Ibile Sangom.
Wow.
And then found out on my mom's side as well, the same thing. But my mom is a first generation Christian. My dad is second generation Christian, right? So on my mom's side, they like my grandmother, my mom's mom did not get baptized. My grandmother would pass up for us. My grandmother would do all of these things. And my grandmother would always tell my mom to protect me. She's like, look after this one, look after this one. And I never got because I was young. And then later on, she's passed now, yes. But all the questions go to my dad, and my dad is like confirming everything. And I'm like, well, if you guys had spoken to me, because I remember going to church at one point, and a prophet told me, Uguti, I'm being pulled in 3 different ways. And my parents were like, tell them that they will find you in ZCC, right? And I did that, okay? I told them, find me in ZCC. I'm an 18-year-old. You'll find me in ZCC. If you want me, you'll find me in ZCC. Yeah, I got baptized because in ZCC, you get baptized when you're older. You choose the baptism. They don't baptize you when you're young, right? You choose the church. So I chose ZCC, right? If you want to put it that way. And I said, you'll find me in ZCC, right? And my prophecy started in ZCC. As soon as I got baptized, I started Ngalaita from there, right? Continued, and then now I'm moving to America. There's no ZCC in America, wait. So, ngizolaita kuphi? There are churches. I remember one church in New York. I went ngalaita, and they were like, "You need to be the, but again, the bishop, but not the bishop, but the deacon." I was like, "Ah!" I was like, "No, no." All I do, I don't do any leading of anybody. I can't even lead myself, right? So anyway, when things came out, like I started, like spiritually, I was just like conflicted for a while. And then when I spoke to my dad and he explained my heritage, that's when I went like, okay, this is now supposed to be a discussion between me and God. Who am I? Because I've been told I'm ZCC. Am I really ZCC? Right? I grew up in the church. Did I really choose the church? So I'm going to step away from it for a second and see if I actually chose the church or I was just in the church and I just grew up in it. And I told my dad about it, and he said it, he's like, I allow you to actually find your way. And he allowed me to. And within the couple of years while I was searching myself, I came to the realization that I am both, neither or. Because if I go into Ubugoma, I renounce UZCC, right? But when I'm in UZCC, I do not renounce my spirituality, my African spirituality, and my journey in African form. But if I'm going into Ubungoma, I have to renounce the other side. So I couldn't renounce the other side, but I wanted to also acknowledge the side that both sides, so I could be in the middle and have my relationship with God the way it is. And ever since then, the headaches have been gone. I'm much nicer to human beings. See, I even found a friend in China. God said, okay, now you can be nice to people. Okay, you're a nice person. But yeah.
Okay, Rebo, we promised B that you'd return to her soon. But just in closing,
Can I ask what happened to my review? I have a few things to talk about. No,
my
that's
friends, you and me, we are
no, that's
friends. We are going to connect again. You and I could even connect tomorrow.
no,
We
but
can even
that's
connect
one.
tomorrow.
No, but that one.
We
I was
that
prepared,
one is not going anywhere, my friend. Relaxo, relaxo.
but le, Bujo. On about it. You have 9 moments. I'm just saying, think about it. Like, it. Like, I'm just saying. I'm just right. So, it's your video. I'm just saying. When you said we're gonna read the first thing we're gonna do, I didn't even think we're gonna go into sexuality. I don't know how we ended up here.
Hey, but we're here. Rebo, just before we digress, and bring it to a close. We started by talking with your mom. Would be awesome if we could end by talking with your mom. I mean, about your mom. What's your favorite memory?
Call her now. You want me to call her?
Cola, cola, cola,
Please give
cola,
me.
cola, cola,
Yeah.
cola, bego. What's your favorite memory of your mom?
Wow, there's a lot. Funny enough, the favorite memory is the one I hated when it was happening. Yeah. My mom used to drag me to town. So okay, like I told you guys, I'm Tswana and Tsonga, right? So I was born in Limpopo, and then by the age of 4 or 5, they took me to the city. So I grew up in Johannesburg. So I am a Joburg girl, right? My whole life until I came here, right? Well, traveled a little bit, but until I came here. And my mom had a thing about Kotropo. Yo, I miss it now. I really, 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 really miss it now. But my mom had a thing about Kotrupung, and every payday, that woman would drag me to town. You know how packed town is month end.
On payday.
No,
Ah,
ha ba
ah, ah.
teng, ne? Ke makula le ma Somalia. Ha se makula fela. Ke the other one, the Ethiopians.
Oh,
The
my
one,
friend.
the ones that literally have a whole building, right? And they convert it into a store. And it's and we went looking for curtains every month end. My mom has curtains in blue, gold, every color you can think of, colors you can imagine, colors that have never been created, styles that are like, my mom is tonga. Like, my mom is tonga. Like, my mom, the only thing that is different, and my dad has kept it, but then the only thing that's different in our home now, there's less things in the house. My mom used to have like fake flowers because they lasted longer, and then the wall pink. One room is pink. The other room is blue. My mom is Tonga, like typical Tonga, like color blocking Tonga, right? So it had to also be color blocking. And you know how heavy curtains are. And she would always say, "I'll buy you pie from Pie City." Ka Coke. That was always her bargain. I used to dread month end, and like you clean the house, and then she says you're going shopping. Ne? You think you're gonna go to Spa or Pick and Pay. Nah. Downtown crowd,
Dirty.
can't even walk. If you let go of your mom's hand, you will not find her for the next 2 hours. You guys don't have, I don't have a phone at that time. She'll tell me, if you get lost, you stand here. I'll come looking for you here. We're always at a point where I could stop and stand and wait for her. But it became
Oh.
my favorite memory to this day. To this day, it's like now I miss those days. Even though I was complaining, it was the one-on-one that I had with her, right? There was a time when she'd tell me stories. We'd have to. Oh, and another thing, she used to talk to everybody. My mom was so friendly. Every 5 minutes, we'd stop to talk. She knew the whole of Joburg. I feel like my mom knew the whole of Joburg. Yo, I forgot that memory. Like we'd like walk 2 blocks, and this woman would tell her, "Okay, hey," another person. The next one would literally take like 10 hours outside. Come back home at dinner time. Mind you, we left in the morning. So that was my mom. But it was times where she would tell me stories about herself. I got to know her. We come from a big family. They're mostly boys, and me and her would like take care of the family, like the household, right? But that was a time where it was just me and her, right? Because the boys were not doing it, right? And they would complain on the way there. So I was the only one that, even though I complained maybe nicer because she still dragged me anyway. But it was a time where I got to know how to, like, everything about Big Tonga. Um, how to, like, I knew about her tribal animal. I knew about Sireto. I don't know what Sireto is in your culture. The tribal praise, the praise song,
Mm,
tribal praise.
Isduko, isduko. Like umnqotsho undala umumane umsila sidungu samatholo.
Yes.
Mm,
My
mm,
dad
mm.
used to say, my dad would also take me aside and would do things that I didn't like doing, but he liked doing. But during those times, he would talk to me. So and I think they knew, it's like they prepared me to be who I am today. Because I'm the only girl, so I'm the only Rahadi, right? So everything, ever since my mom passed away, I became the matron of the family, right? I may be in America, but everything runs through me in that, and I didn't know they were preparing me for that. You know, they were preparing me for if anything traditionally that was needed, I could literally go into my mental files and pull it out. Like, I know how to slaughter a cow. I know why cows are slaughtered. Like, everything from both sides of the family. If they tell me that my mom's side, the Mabunda side of the family is not happy with us, I will literally, okay, they're not happy. This is what we need to do, right? And I didn't realize that's what they were doing. And when I look at my siblings now, my brothers who they are more Tswana than they are Tsonga, if that makes sense. They were taught to be Tswana men and do Tswana traditional things, but they don't know much about the Tsonga side of it. And I'm happy that my mom took me aside and actually took time to do that. So, best memory, Didn't like it when it was happening, but I had good calves at that time. And she didn't want to take taxis. She didn't take taxis. The taxi that she took was on the way back if she was tired. So I had nice calves back then. I remember, oh, those calves were nice. They're not anymore. But yeah, that's my first memory.
Those are beautiful memories. Beautiful memories.
Thank you.
Okay, Rebo, this was so much fun for me. I really enjoyed getting to know you a bit better. Obviously, we need another one. Can I actually invite you on this platform now in advance for the next one?
Yes,
I
and we
mean,
talk about ultimate.
we're
Ultimate.
going to talk about the ultimatum.
I
Listen, we will chop it up.
not talk about it with anybody else on this platform because I asked first. Everybody else will come after me. I have I've never been invested in people's relationships. Like I'm not even invested in relationships. Like my friends, I don't give a flip what they do, but those ones, hi man. Sorry, yes, I'll come back. I really need to meet a Nola in my life. Like I need to know what goes on in that boy. And he's stronger. What the?
Where is Tonga? He's
Stronger man is like now I
But it's
know.
amazing. Yes,
Like this
Nola amazes me because Nola's the type of guy to tell you, like, we're both, you and Nola are looking at the sun, like it's over there. And Nola tells you there's no sun.
is like, look, you're blinded right now. It's like, no, no, no. What you're
there's not.
loud. I'm telling you. Like,
Nola,
ah,
Nola, you were holding hands. Ah, no, no, no. We were not holding. Ruth, were we holding hands?
and says, were we holding hands? Like, dude, you didn't even brief the girl. Now I understand why my mother said, don't date a Tsonga. No, like, my mom that type. She never dated a Tsonga. My dad never dated a Tswana. And I told myself I'll never date those two because both of them never wanted to date. Now Nola has why. I'm still looking for the why you don't date a Tswana part. Now Nola is an example. Ah, like Mama, how did you go from Limpopo to West? How did that happen? All the way to North West.
Oh,
Like,
man.
you that guy.
Oh,
Yes, next
right.
one.
Yeah, but yeah, we need to chop it up because also, like, I listened to your voice note, and there are parts where I sort of hear you. And I
I
mean,
don't
I've never been a mother, so I can't disagree when it comes to Kanya. But there's also a lot of thoughts that I have with regards to Kanya and motherhood and her changing by virtue of being a mother. I
guys.
just don't see it. I just don't see it.
No, listen, I believe that she's softened. Like I don't think the Kanye that we saw would have even apologized. Even
But
though it
also notice that,
felt
you know what I think? That for me sounded like a very strategic apology because it was apologizing specifically for body shaming, something that is,
no, she doesn't regret the whole thing. She just
yeah,
body shaming part, right?
yeah,
I think
but what?
backlash and because she was pregnant and because her body changed, right? What
Ah.
she did was actually because you gain weight, right? Okay, I didn't, but you gain weight, you get stretched, and you should see her. The dress that she was wearing was a very loose dress, right? That means that a lot of changes has gone. So she's apologizing. She's not apologizing for the whole situation. It's just the body part. Because now, when she comes out, her body's not going to be the same. And now people are going to start. If she doesn't apologize for that, people are going to come now say things about her new body, her mommy body, right? It
Hmm.
that, or it could be that you know what, she had a heart. She had a whole child.
We'll chop it up, my friend. Friend, you need to go. I need to call it a night. This is so much fun, Rebo. We're
I,
doing it again soon. Ne?
I will communicate. I
Okay, have a good one.
for having me.
Appreciate you, my friend. Bye.
Bye-bye.